When a woman has gone without intimacy for a long time, the world doesn't see the transformation happening inside her, but her psychology quietly reveals it. A woman was never designed to separate emotional closeness from physical closeness. Both are deeply intertwined in her nature. So when that part of her life becomes silent, her behavior begins to express what her words may never confess. This isn't about lust or urgency. It's about connection, safety, emotional grounding, and the quiet hunger for being understood by the right person. The first sign lies in her emotional sensitivity. She becomes more aware, more reactive, more tuned into the emotional atmosphere around her. Her body longs for softness, for reassurance, for a presence that can hold space for a feminine energy. When she hasn't experienced intimacy in a long time, her emotions may feel intensified, not because she is unstable, but because the emotional channels through which she expresses connection have been dormant for too long. She begins to crave a connection, feels safe, patient, and emotionally congruent. She doesn't want touch first. She wants trust first. The second sign appears in her communication. A woman who hasn't felt closeness in a long time may start showing curiosity toward emotional depth. She may ask questions that probe your values, your intentions, your emotional maturity. She listens differently. She evaluates differently. She becomes more attentive to how someone makes her feel, not what someone promises. When a woman feels deprived of emotional and physical connection, her psychology shifts toward protecting her heart. She becomes careful, observant, and deeply conscious of who she allows near her. She is not desperate. She is discerning. She doesn't want anyone. She wants someone who feels like home. The third sign is reflected in her body language. Her feminine energy may fluctuate between openness and restraint, depending on how safe she feels. A woman who hasn't been touched in a long time may unintentionally display signs of longing for closeness, leaning in slightly when she feels understood, making more eye contact when she feels emotionally seen, or letting her guard down in subtle ways. Feminine psychology is nonverbal long before it becomes verbal. Her silence often speaks louder than her words. When she feels valued, her body naturally softens. When she fears being misread, she withdraws. This balance between openness and self-protection becomes very visible. The fourth sign is internal. A quiet battle between desire and self-control. A woman can suppress her physical longing for long periods, but she cannot silence her emotional nature. She may appear distant, calm, or even different on the outside, but internally she wrestles with a deep craving for intimacy that aligns with emotional safety. She wants closeness, but she fears choosing wrong. She desires connection, but she protects herself from vulnerability. This internal contradiction is one of the strongest psychological signs that she has been without intimacy for a long time. But here is the deeper truth. What a woman misses most is not the physical act. What she truly misses is the security of presence, the warmth of being held, the comfort of knowing she belongs, the peace of feeling emotionally understood. She misses the feeling of being valued, not just desired. She misses the emotional exchange that makes her feel alive, feminine, safe, and deeply connected. A woman's longing is never superficial. Her psychology is built to seek bonding, her meaning, and soulful union rather than momentary pleasure. She wants a connection that nourishes her spirit, not one that drains it. When she has been without intimacy for a long time, she becomes more selective, not because she is difficult, but because she honors the depth of what she feels and refuses to give it away carelessly. Her signs are subtle yet profound, silent yet unmistakable. The world may misinterpret them, but a man who understands feminine psychology will see them with clarity. He will realize that beneath her restraint is a heart waiting to be understood, a soul waiting to be felt, and a feminine essence waiting to be met with emotional safety. What she truly wants is not someone to awaken her physically, but someone who allows her to feel emotionally safe enough to open up naturally. When the right presence enters her life, patient, gentle, emotionally mature, her femininity unfolds effortlessly. Because a woman who feels seen emotionally blossoms physically. A woman who feels valued spiritually opens up mentally. And a woman who feels safe wholeheartedly reveals the depth of her desire. A woman who hasn't experienced intimacy for a long time doesn't simply feel the physical distance. She feels the emotional silence that comes with it. Her sensitivity becomes heightened, not because she is weak, but because feminine psychology responds to connection at a deeper emotional level than physical touch alone. When intimacy fades from her life, her emotional receptors become more aware, more tuned in, almost like her heart and nervous system are searching for warmth, understanding, and safety. Emotional sensitivity in a woman is not a flaw. It is the natural language through which her femininity speaks. And when that emotional language goes unheard for too long, she begins to express signs that are subtle, easily misunderstood, and deeply rooted in her psychological design. She starts sensing more than she speaks. Her intuition sharpens, Her awareness increases and she becomes more observant of other people and energy around her. Feminine psychology processes closeness through emotional cues. And when those cues are missing, she compensates by becoming more attentive. She notices tone changes, small gestures, and emotional inconsistencies more quickly. This heightened emotional sensitivity is not an attempt to read into things unnecessarily. It is her subconscious effort to navigate a world where she hasn't felt grounded in closeness for some time. Her heart becomes more alert, not because she is needy, but because her emotional radar is trying to identify safety again. This heightened awareness often comes with emotional fluctuations. She may have days where she feels deeply connected to her own emotions, craving warmth and presence, and other days where she pulls away, guarding her heart with quiet restraint. These shifts are psychological responses to the absence of intimacy. A woman's emotional system needs connection the same way her body needs rest. When emotional connection is missing, she begins to feel the pressure internally, like an unexpressed longing that she doesn't always understand or know how to voice. Instead of openly expressing her needs, which many women hesitate to do out of fear of being judged, misunderstood, or perceived as vulnerable, she internalizes them. This internalization heightens her emotional sensitivity even more. Her longing for emotional safety becomes more pronounced during this time. When she hasn't been close to anyone physically, what she actually misses most is not the act itself, but the bond that comes with it, the sense of being cared for, understood, and valued. This is why emotional sensitivity becomes the first sign. A woman's desire is always rooted in her emotional reality. She doesn't crave physical connection in isolation. She craves emotional presence that makes the physical feel meaningful. When that presence is missing, her emotional world feels unanchored, and she becomes more reactive to anything that resembles connection, comfort, or understanding. She may find herself more touched by kindness, more responsive to warmth, more deeply affected by words or gestures that show genuine care. Something as simple as someone remembering a small detail about her or listening with full attention can stir emotions inside her that she hasn't felt in a long time. She isn't being dramatic, she is being human. When a woman has been emotionally starved, even the smallest act of care can feel like oxygen. Her psychology responds to connection with intensity because she has been holding herself together alone for too long. However, emotional sensitivity doesn't only show up through softness, it can show up through self-protection as well. Because she hasn't experienced intimacy in a long time, she may build emotional walls without even realizing it. She may appear detached, harder to read, or more cautious. This is her way of managing the vulnerability she feels inside. She has spent so long without sharing emotional or physical closeness that she becomes unsure of how much of herself she should reveal. So she oscillates between wanting connection and fearing it. This internal conflict heightens her emotional sensitivity even further. Everything becomes magnified because she is constantly balancing between desire and restraint. One of the most profound aspects of feminine psychology is that women often feel before they think. Their bodies and emotions speak long before their words do. If she hasn't been close to someone in a long while, her body carries that longing in ways she can't fully control. Her emotions become the first expression of what her mind refuses to acknowledge. She may feel overwhelmed at times, unexpectedly emotional, or easily touched by moments of connection. This is not neediness. It is feminine nature asking to be seen, held, and understood. What makes this sensitivity even deeper is that women process emotional deprivation differently than men. Men often feel physical distance first, then emotional. Women feel emotional distance first, then physical. So when both have been missing for a long time, her sensitivity becomes a blend of emotional hunger and internal strength. She has learned to carry herself, to survive without closeness, to be strong without support. But beneath that strength is a heart that still longs for someone who can meet her on an emotional frequency that feels safe and real. She becomes more reflective during this period. She questions her past, examines her patterns, revisits her emotional boundaries. She begins noticing what she truly wants versus what she once accepted. This sensitivity becomes a teacher. It reveals her needs, her fears, and her hidden desires. It shows her the difference between being touched and being understood. And when she finally encounters someone whose presence feels openly expressed that she's craving closeness, instead her words reveal it indirectly, she may initiate conversations more often, even with small or seemingly random topics, simply because the emotional exchange brings her comfort. When a woman has gone a long time without intimacy, she values the emotional feeling of being heard more than anything else. She may not say it out loud, but a meaningful conversation gives her the sense of closeness she has been missing. She might ask more thoughtful questions, try to understand your inner world, or seek clarity about who you are. This isn't her trying to interrogate you, it's her subconscious trying to find emotional safety again. At the same time, she becomes more sensitive to how someone communicates with her. The tone of your voice, the timing of your replies, the consistency of your messages. All of these become signals that she pays close attention to. This is where many misunderstand her. She is not overthinking. She is emotionally scanning. When intimacy has been absent from her life, her sense of emotional vulnerability increases. This vulnerability makes her evaluate every word more deeply. Her communication becomes a way of protecting herself from repeating emotional pain. She wants to feel valued, not ignored. She wants conversations that nourish her, not drain her. And so she listens not just to what you say, but to how you say it. She may also communicate with more sincerity and emotional honesty. A woman who has been distant from intimacy for a long time often becomes more authentic. She no longer has the energy for superficial interactions or temporary connections. She wants stability in communication, emotional consistency, and a presence that feels real. She gravitates toward conversations that feel warm, grounding, and emotionally intelligent. If she feels seen through your words, she naturally begins to open up. She may share pieces of her past, insights from her experiences, or details about her emotional world. This is her way of saying she trusts you without using the word trust. However, this shift in communication also comes with caution. She may appear hesitant at times, taking longer to reply or choosing her words carefully. When intimacy has been unavailable to her for a long period, her fear of being misunderstood or emotionally disappointed grows. She becomes more guarded with her personal thoughts. She might want to express something but hold herself back, unsure of whether her feelings will be respected. Her silence isn't lack of interest, her restraint isn't lack of desire. It is her emotional self-protection speaking louder than her longing. Another psychological response is her need for reassurance in subtle forms. She won't directly ask for reassurance, most women won't, but she might bring up topics that test emotional consistency. She may share something vulnerable to see how you handle it. She may observe how you respond to her good days and her quiet days. A woman who hasn't experienced intimacy for a long time wants to feel emotionally safe, and her communication becomes the channel through which she tests whether someone can provide that safety. If she feels dismissed, minimized, or misunderstood, she retreats even further. But if she feels heard and respected, she blooms through communication first. Her communication may also grow deeper and more emotionally expressive when she senses genuine care. She might tell you about her dreams, her fears, her values, or her inner conflicts. She shares not to burden you, but to connect with you. Feminine psychology thrives on emotional intimacy before physical closeness. When she speaks openly about her internal world, it means she feels safe enough to let her guard down. And if she hasn't had intimacy for a long time, that emotional opening is a rare and meaningful gesture. Her words become the bridge between her suppressed feminine longing and her desire to trust again. Another sign is the warmth that enters her communication when she feels emotionally drawn to someone. Her messages may feel softer, her tone more caring, her expressions more gentle. She might remember details about your life, encourage you, or express subtle affection. This warmth isn't flirtation, it's her feminine energy coming back to life. Emotional warmth is often the first sign that she is reconnecting with the part of herself that has been quiet for too long. When she feels emotionally nourished through communication, her feminine spirit slowly begins to heal, yet even this warmth exists alongside moments of emotional distance. She may suddenly become quieter or less expressive at times. This is not rejection, it is her internal conflict